Hi, I'm Jay Goldman, and you are watching Status Update on Butterscotch.com. Today we're going to take a look at something that's known as the empty restaurant problem, or also the empty restaurant syndrome. And we recently saw the launch of Apple's Ping network within iTunes and their Game Center network on the iOS devices. And both of them kind of suffered from the empty restaurant problem. You've all had the experience of walking into an empty restaurant and something immediately feels wrong. If nobody else is eating here, maybe I shouldn't be eating here either. And nightclubs have long known about this problem, and that's why if you've ever tried to get into a crowded nightclub where you stand in line for an hour outside and then get inside and find it strangely empty, it's because that outside lineup breeds more lineups. People see the lineup outside and they think, hey, there's a lot of people standing here, this must be pretty cool, I'm going to check it out. The same thing is true with exclusive betas for web apps. So if you've ever seen people on Twitter who are tweeting about, oh, I got an invite into this very exclusive beta, I'm going to go check it out now, there's in most cases no reason to be limiting that number other than the fact that there are now a whole bunch of people tweeting about getting an exclusive invite. Scarcity drives up the value of that. That's true in almost any economics equation. And so if you've got a new application and you want people to start tweeting about it before it's even released, a pretty sure way to get them to do that is hand out exclusive invites. The question is, how do you solve the empty restaurant problem? If you're starting a new application or a new website or really anything along those lines, you've got a bit of a chicken and egg. The key is to leverage existing restaurants. So there's really no need for anybody to recreate their social graph. You've got Facebook Connect as an option, you've got sign in with Twitter, you'll soon have sign in with LinkedIn. Your friends can come with you when you get onto a new website. Facebook's instant personalization, although it's a little bit of a privacy nightmare at first, they're getting better at that, can make people feel like they're at home right away. So basically, instant personalization, if you've logged in with Facebook Connect, will bring a whole bunch of information that's relevant to you directly onto the website. If it's, for example, Rotten Tomatoes, you can see movies that your friends have reviewed right away. That content makes you feel like you're at home and solves the restaurant problem because your friends are immediately there and the site is populated with content that's relevant to you. Apple launched Ping with Facebook Connect in it, and if you were one of the very early people to log into Ping as I was, you would actually have seen the Facebook Connect button, clicked on it, and then been able to bring your Facebook friends in. It was pulled from Ping, apparently because Facebook and Apple weren't able to agree on their terms for using it. The thing is, it's key to make sure that you've negotiated any terms like that well in advance for critical components. Negotiating them right up to the deadline of launching Ping and then in fact not being able to agree and pulling it out meant that people who came into Ping hit an empty restaurant where they couldn't find their friends. Once people are in, make it really easy for them to find their friends. And this is actually critical. If you go on Ping or Game Center, it's actually a little bit hard to find your friends. But there are a whole bunch of solutions to this. So if you've used Facebook Connect or Twitter or LinkedIn, the friends will just be there automatically. That comes as part of the package. If you haven't used that, or you want to give people access to their address books that might be, for example, in Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo, or another email system, there are a whole bunch of third-party software solutions that will allow you to very easily import those address books, and we'll include a link to some of them in the show notes. Once they're in and they've found their friends, encourage social actions. So if someone shares something, make it really easy to follow the person who shared it. This is actually kind of tricky on Ping. If somebody friends or follows another person, you'll get an update in your Ping feed that they've done that, but it's actually quite hard to then go and follow that person as well. So make sure that you've covered your interface as much as possible with easy ways to follow people and start listening to them and getting their updates. That won't solve the empty restaurant problem the first time they log in, but it'll guarantee that when they come back, there's a lot more updates in their feed and there's a lot more activity for them to be interested in. A related problem is a Game Center suffered from. There were almost no games available at launch. They're starting to trickle out now, but if you've got a system that involves relying on other stuff like that, in this case Game Center relied on games that were Game Center enabled, make sure that your ecosystem is primed and ready when you're launching it. Apple should have gone out to major game makers on the iPhone and worked with them in advance to make sure that their games were going to be Game Center enabled and that there were updates available in the App Store the day that Game Center came out, so that as soon as it was there and you logged in, a whole bunch of your games immediately popped up inside of Game Center. The opposite was actually true, and so a whole bunch of people went up, signed up for Game Center accounts, realized there were no games, and then kind of forgot about it. If you're building games on a platform that runs on iOS, I would definitely recommend that you look into integrating with Game Center, but I would also look into integrating with something like OpenFaint, which we've covered in a Mr. Mobile episode way back in the day. We'll include a link in the show notes. And that allows you to bring people's friends directly into the gaming experience with them. So they get a network that they can access immediately, they can see what their friends are playing, and that cures the empty restaurant problem within your actual game because they can now interact with their friends with very little effort on their part. Don't forget, if you're looking to register a domain name, you can get 10% off at hover.com using the promo code that you can see on the screen and also find in the show notes. I'm Jay Goldman. This has been Status Update on Butterscotch.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.